All right, so we'll go ahead and get started. I want to thank you for joining today. My name is Garrett Rochell, Director of Growth here at Sprinterra. So for today's webinar, we're going to be talking about our upgrade tools. So you may have heard a bit about our upgrade program, which is kind of the full service, top to bottom upgrade management that we offer to VARs. But that's all kind of powered by some strategic and automated upgrade tools that we use, and those are products that we offer as well. So today we're going to talk through what we have to offer from those upgrade tools. We'll go through why they're important, why they matter. We'll go through at a high level what each of them are. So that'll be the customization assessment tool, that'll be the system integrity testing tool, and then that will be our custom portal that we use for upgrade tracking. We'll talk about the key benefits of those tools to VARs and to end clients. And then we'll close it out with a live look at each of these tools. So we'll go through each of them live. We'll go through the custom portal. We'll take a look at what the system integrity output looks like versus what you see in the system. And then we'll take a look at the customization assessment report that is generated as part of this customization assessment tool. We'll close it out. If you have any questions, we'll be happy to answer those. If you have anything along the way, you can pop it in the chat, and I'll see if I can keep an eye on those, and then we'll go from there. All right. So first question is why do upgrade tools matter? So the main reasons are to mitigate some of the challenges that we face during Acumatica upgrades. So some of the common challenges you may see would be surprise customization issues. And what we mean here is the kind of the most common approach that we see that VARs are taking when managing upgrades when it comes to customizations is they're attempting to publish the customizations in the sandbox, waiting to see if they'll publish. And then if they publish, the majority are actually kind of taking that as a sign that everything is good to go, which in some cases it may be, but in many cases it may not be. And what this approach leads to is it can lead to issues coming up later down the line, either later in the sandbox testing or later after the upgrade is actually processed into production, and then you start to see some of those issues. So we're looking for a solution to that. When you are taking it a step further and performing deeper testing on those customizations, doing validation, testing the functionality, all of those things, that can be very time consuming as well. So when you are taking it to that next level, we wanted to find a solution to make that process easier, to automate as much of that as we can, to turn it into a very efficient process where nothing really slips through the cracks, because that tends to be the common theme that we hear about upgrades is sometimes things just kind of slip through the cracks, and then it catches you later on in the process. In some cases, you may have conflicts with ISVs. So publishing the ISV customization packages is great, but also being able to perform testing on any workflows that are tied to those ISVs, that's very important as well. And this is tied very closely to what is often manual regression testing. And in many cases, this is something that is assigned to the end client, which also in many cases may mean that it doesn't happen or may not happen to the extent that we would like. So we wanted to find a solution for automating that manual regression testing. And in some cases, lack of completion of that regression testing is tied very closely to lack of resources to be able to dedicate to that regression testing. Sometimes that's on the VAR side, sometimes it's on the client side, but kind of the problem that we're all facing is scarcity of resources to be able to perform the work that we have in front of us. So again, kind of the common theme here is we looked to build some tools that can automate what is possible to automate, to clean up a process that in many cases is not the most pristine process out there. So overall goal, we wanted to reduce unknowns. We wanted to maximize efficiency and build confidence both on the VAR side and the end client side when it comes to upgrades. So the first tool that we'll do an overview of is our customization assessment tool. So there are a couple of key functions that this tool accomplishes. First, it's going to map all components of the customization. So it's going to assess the customization from top to bottom, and it's going to look at what are the different screens that this is touching, how many scripts are being run, if any, how many access rights areas is this touching? What sort of refactoring are we going to need? And it gives you a general idea of where do all the tentacles of this customization touch. So that's number one. Next, it's going to evaluate the compatibility of that customization against the version that you're going to, as well as the version that you're currently on. But more importantly, the version that you're going to. So it's going to give you an idea of what potential errors and conflicts are we going to see, what potential warnings are we going to see that may indicate, additional items that need to be resolved. And it gives you a very good idea of when we go to this version, what needs to be accomplished in order to go there smoothly. Next, it's going to do a full technical validation. So this is going to be kind of the same stringent guidelines that Acumatica uses to assess an ISV when an ISV is looking to be certified to go onto the marketplace. We're putting each customization against those same requirements when the customization assessment tool is being used to evaluate those customizations. So it's going to provide you an output which tells you against the 22 core coding standards per Acumatica, how many are in compliance. So it's going to give you a full technical validation. And then the last piece, which is becoming more and more relevant as we go, is it's going to assess the level of effort required in order to transition to modern UI. So with modern UI kind of being the biggest, newest thing right now, that's very, very important. And there are a lot of questions about, there's an understanding that there's going to be a process to get from classic UI to modern UI once we make the jump to 25R2 or to 26R1 in the future. But what does that actually look like? What's the level of effort that actually translates to? And that's something that the tool is able to provide as well. So the final output of this tool is a detailed report which outlines the scope of the customization, gives you an idea of upgrade readiness, gives you an idea of what's going to need to be, what issues will need to be resolved, where is the code going to need to be modified, updated, all of those types of things in order to be able to move to the new version. And it gives you pretty much a full roadmap of how to go from point A to point B with all of the nuts and bolts that it's provided to you in that report. So we're going to take a look at that report a little later on once we get to the demo phase of this call, but we'll give you an idea of what that report looks like as well. But end result gives you a report, highlights all of the areas of concern, everything that's going well, everything that needs attention, all in one consolidated report. Wanted to take a quick closer look at the modern UI portion of this customization assessment tool. So this is a fairly complex topic, so we won't go all the way into the weeds, but we might go, halfway there. But we've built an algorithm which evaluates based on all the different pieces of the customization, all the different screens that it's touching, how many hours are going to be required in order to transition this from current to the modern UI. So a couple of things that it factors in. So first, it does a categorization of all of the different pieces of the customization. The main components are going to be screens. So how many screens and what type of screens are they? So the two main types of screens that you'll see are going to be customized screens, which these customized screens are screens that exist out of the box in Acumatica, but they've been customized or modified via that customization package. And then the second category is fully custom screens. So these fully custom screens are those that don't natively exist in Acumatica. They were maybe created from scratch via that customization package. So those are the two categories, customized versus fully custom, built from the ground up. Next, you look at weighting. So customized screens tend to be a little more effort to convert than fully custom screens are. So that there's a weighting that goes into that because we know there's a little higher level of effort in general for the customized screens versus those that are built from scratch. Once we get an idea of the components of the customization and how many screens are in category A versus category B, we go into a calculation of effort points. So the way this happens is we're counting each of the tags. So how many tags exist on each of these screens. And we're also looking at the type of tag because there are many different types of tags. They may vary slightly in complexity, which means they're going to vary slightly in level of effort to transition to the modern UI. So then we're figuring out how many effort points with a slight weighting based on the complexity. This is part of the algorithm that we're fine tuning, and we're going to continue fine tuning as we go forward to make sure that we're accounting for all of the different variables, all the different types of customizations, all the different little nuggets that you could find in a customization, making sure we account for edge cases. But that second point is essentially counting the tags, weighting them based on complexity, and then finally converting those to dev hours. So the end result of this tool is how many dev hours to move this customization to the modern UI. Now, a couple of things that we're working on, like I said, we are working to expand the capabilities to account for as many edge cases as possible. So this would include customizations that include smart panels, if they have ASPX code behind the scenes, if there's JavaScript, if there's custom CS, all these different variables, we're looking to account for that as well. But just to provide a quick kind of real life scenario, we had a customization that we assessed, and ultimately it had 20 customized screens and it had 24 custom screens. The total tag count for those 44 screens was 2,755, of which 853 of them were from customized screens, and 1,902 of them were from fully custom screens. So then the basic algorithm based off of this data here would be the total hours is going to equal the customized effort points, which is these 853, divided by the APRM, which is how quickly can we convert it. So that's 853 divided by 16, because we can take care of 16 customized effort points per hour, plus this 1902 divided by the 24 custom effort points per hour. Long story short, 133 hours total plus any QA time for this particular customization. This was quite a large customization, but just to give you an idea. Now, again, I know this is a pretty nuanced conversation, and as we continue to develop and tweak and fine tune the algorithm, there will be more and more variables that go into it. It's not a 5-minute conversation, so I've done the best that I can in the time that we have for this call, but it's definitely something that we're open to discussing further. If you have any questions about how it works, how this can be applied to your clients, your customizations, and that sort of thing. All right, so on to the next tool. Next, we're going to talk about the system integrity testing tool. So this is meant to automate your regression testing, essentially. So testing of all of your standard workflows, testing of your automations, your business events, your import scenarios, your generic inquiries, your reports, whether they're custom or out of the box. This is going to automate the testing of each and every one of those. So the benefits of this is, of course, we're reducing the manual QA testing, because this is managing all of that in an automated manner. As a result of the efficiency and the quality of the automation tool, we're minimizing post-upgrade support that's needed. And again, back to the confidence, we're enhancing overall confidence in upgrades, both on the VAR side and on the end client side. As I mentioned before, in many cases, the way that upgrades are structured, the VAR is assigning some of this regression testing to the end client. And this becomes very dependent upon, one, the willingness and the availability of the end client to do that regression testing, and also the thoroughness in which they're able to accomplish it. And in some cases, this is being managed on the VAR side, but in either scenario, it's very difficult and very time consuming to test every single screen, every single report, every single GI, et cetera, et cetera. So that's why we start to see certain things fall through the cracks, because maybe we looked at 75 screens, but we didn't look at the other 200, something along those lines. So those little errors where maybe a join is no longer working or a field became obsolete, those little things, that's now getting caught automatically with our automated system integrity testing tool. And I'll show you in just a second, once we get to the demo portion, an example of what that looks like in your system versus the report that would be generated. Okay, and the final piece, and another very important tool that we use, is we have a custom portal that we use for tracking upgrades. And we've built this on top of Acumatica's case management module. So a couple of things that it does very well. One is it provides centralized visibility. So it's a place for the VAR to keep an eye on the upgrade status. It's a place for the end client to keep an eye on the upgrade status. And it's a place that we at Sprinterra can have all of the latest information related to every customization, every generic inquiry, every screen, all those types of things. We can have it all in one place. So you can get a very quick snapshot of the status of the upgrade. As I said, transparent status is it's easy client access, and it's also integrated case management. One of the perks of building it on top of Acumatica's case management is it ties in very closely to our support. So if you're in the upgrade, you're taking a look at the upgrade, and there's a certain customization or a certain GI or an ISV that you have a question about, you can very easily create a case, ask a question, get an answer to what is the status of X, Y, and Z type of a deal. All right, and just to kind of summarize some of the key benefits from everything that we just talked about. So first, from the VARs perspective, so less resources required to be dedicated to upgrades. So whether you're using our full upgrade program, top to bottom upgrade management, or whether you're just leveraging the tools that we have, in either scenario, your resources that are working on upgrades, it's going to be dramatically reduced. So the system integrity testing, the customization assessment, they're greatly reducing the manual level of effort because of all the pieces, all of the work that they do in an automated manner. The end goal is, of course, to reduce the upgrade-related support load. So by using these automations, we're making sure that we're not only doing the work in a timely manner, but we're doing it with a level of thoroughness that's very hard to replicate when we're doing it manually. So as a result, we're catching essentially all of the issues ahead of time, as opposed to being exposed to them kind of day by day or week by week as they're exposed in the production site following the upgrade. I mentioned quicker upgrades, I mentioned cleaner upgrades, but the end result of that is happier clients. So a smooth upgrade is a huge win, and in many cases, it takes something that can be in some cases a point of contention, or something that the client is scared of or wants to avoid. It turns it into a smooth win. It's just another day. It's just another mini project. It's something that's just part of the life, as opposed to a big road bump that they're looking ahead to. This allows your upgrades to be very consistent and repeatable. The same process is going to be applied for each of your clients. The customizations are going to be looked at under the same lens. The workflow testing is going to happen in a similar manner. All reports, all GIs, everything's covered. It's very consistent, very repeatable. And then finally, this optimizes customizations for easy maintenance. And this is, to me, it's similar to how you approach maintaining your car. So in some cases, you may do the bare minimum, right? And you're going to fill it up with gas. You're going to maybe replace the brakes when the car starts to shake when you're braking, and you may take it in for maintenance when it breaks down, and those types of things. And ultimately, it's going to work for a while, and it's going to, for the most part, get you from point A to point B. But maybe at 120,000 miles, it's no longer running. Versus if you're proactively maintaining it, you're getting oil changes regularly, you're looking ahead to potential issues. Now maybe your car is going to get 250, 300,000 miles out of it, something along those lines. So the same thing applies here with our customization assessment tool. When we're doing that technical validation and we're assessing the health of the code, it's something that allows you to take those steps early on to optimize the customization, optimize the code that you're using, as opposed to having it catch you off guard later on. And then from the client's perspective, it's going to increase stability and upgrade. So using these tools is a huge linchpin in turning around and improving your upgrade process. So this is going to allow it to be, like I said, very repeatable, just another day, something that happens very routinely. From the client's perspective, there will be less internal resources that need to be a part of upgrade testing. So with the automation of this regression testing, the full load of that no longer falls on the client. It's now something that's going to be managed automatically. A report will be generated with a, hey, maybe you should look here, here, and here, just to confirm, and that type of a deal. And then finally, there will be fewer post-upgrade issues as a result of a more efficient upgrade process and a more thorough upgrade process. All right, so now what we're going to do, it's now demo time. We're going to take a look at some of these tools in action. So I'm going to move my screen over. I'm going to share a different screen. So I'm going to stop this share and I'm going to go take a look over here. And so you should now be seeing a screen with an upgrades tab opened on the support.sprinterra.com URL.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, so we're going to start with our custom upgrade portal. So this is just a quick look at some test data that we've put together that kind of illustrates. So one, you've got a view here, which is going to give you a listing from a VARs perspective of any clients in which you have an upgrade underway with Sprinterra. So in this case, we've got two. We've got client 1 and we've got client 4. It's going to give you an overall status of the upgrade. It's going to list the version that we're going to, the version that we're coming from. It's going to give us the date that the upgrade is scheduled for. It's going to mention sandbox creation and expiration. In this case, the sandbox has not yet been created, so we're in the preparing phase. It's going to give you an estimated date of completion for sandbox testing, and it's going to give you, from our side, the project owner. If you click into one of these, we're going to click into the one where the sandbox has already been created and the bulk, or it looks like all of the testing has actually been completed. And within this screen, it's going to give you, again, some of the basic information about the upgrade up here. But now it's going to go through all the different components of your upgrade and give you statuses on each. So it's going to give you a list of all customization packages. In this case, we have one, and we can see that the sandbox testing has been completed. It's going to take a look at any ISVs and give a status on, has the package been procured? Has testing been completed? So in this case, this is completed. It's going to give a look at workflows in these different modules. So in this case, testing has been completed in the AP, AR, and service orders modules. It's going to give a status on the different generic inquiries that have been tested, one of which is custom, one of which is out of the box. And it's going to show you sandbox testing completed, any reports that are being tested, any import scenarios that are being tested. And then finally, in this case, this was a fairly straightforward one, but it's saying the upgrade has been completed, ready to be deployed to production at the upgrade scheduled date of 12/1. So this is just a quick look at that, at the status of an upgrade using the custom upgrade portal that we have for managing this project. The next thing that I want to look at with you is the system integrity testing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my next tab here, and hopefully these didn't time me out and log me out, but I'm going to go into sales orders. And what we're going to find here, I've broken the system in advance, and we're going to find the sales order screen is not working, and it's giving us this error message here. So this is part of your standard regression testing. So in your upgrade, someone's going to be assigned to testing standard workflows, making sure everything's working as expected. In some cases, it may not be. So in this scenario, the sales order screen, this is a simple issue. It's just referencing an incorrect field. But this, from the perspective of manual testing, this screen would need to be found, it would need to be selected, and it would need to be looked into, and it would identify the error. So that's one error that we found. The next error that I'm going to look at on this next screen here is, if we look at the sales order report, at first glance, everything looks okay, because in many cases, if you get an error on a report, it's actually going to show an error on this screen and not even allow you to select an order type or an order number. However, in this case, everything at surface level looks fine. But if I click in to run the report, it's going to generate this report, and we're going to see there's actually 3 different errors. There's an error in the unit of measure field. There's an error in the item field here. And then down here in this additional text box, there's a 3rd error. So these errors are not manifesting on the UI out here. It's only once you get into the report that we're actually seeing these errors. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to pull up a portion of the system integrity testing response, and it's going to show you what you would see after the automation ran. So I'm going to pull up the little snippet here. So a couple of things that we're going to see. We're going to see that we're getting an error here. So this error here is related to the SO3010 primary list screen, which is our sales order screen. And it's giving us an idea that this is the error that we're going to be receiving. So this is an automated process that's running. It's testing all of those screens in the system. It's testing all GIs, all reports. You also notice the next one that we have down here is it's saying you need to check this report screen because there were three failures within it. And so if we bounce back to our system here, within this report, there were 3 failures. There was the unit of measure, there was the item, and then there was the text box down here. So it identified the 3 errors there, and it identified the PM project invalid field here. So this is something that can be run. We've got just a small example here, a small snippet, but this would be run for the entire system, and it would give you a list of any of those type of issues. You notice another one that it has down here is an import scenario. So there's an import scenario that is in use but not running correctly in the sandbox. So all these types of things, it goes top to bottom through the system, and it returns an output of these are the areas that you need to look at. So it turns a process of manually going through potentially hundreds of screens into a click of a button, having the system test and assess, and then give you a finite output of these are the areas that you need to look into. So in many cases, this is a process that can be reduced by huge amounts of time. So if it's something that typically may take 8 to 10 hours to do properly, now we're looking at 30 minutes to an hour. So it's huge time savings, and it assesses top to bottom the full system. So that's system integrity testing in action, and that's what the output's going to look like versus the errors that you may see manually in the system. Okay, and then the last thing that we're going to show, so we looked at the custom portal for upgrades. We looked at the system integrity testing for workflows, GIs, reports, automations, etc. Now we're going to look at the customization assessment tool. So I'm going to pull up one final piece here, and we're going to see I've got 2 tabs open. So this is 2 different reports for 2 different customizations. So on this one here, you can see it's showing as an extra small customization. And on this one here, it's showing as a large customization. So this one is very complex. This one is really quite straightforward. So we're going to run through this straightforward report just to get an idea of the structure of the report, because in this one, it's so simple that you can see there's no errors. There's only a couple of warnings. There's not really too much going on. But just to get you familiar with the structure of the report, we'll run through this one. And then I'd like to show you a couple pieces of this one where in this case, you can see there's all kinds of errors. There's a lot going on, a lot to look at, and we'll look at that in a little more depth. So the way that this report is broken down is it's going to assign a category here. So how large, how complex is this customization? This is based off of points, and the points are assigned based on the areas that the customization is touching, how complex it is. We'll take a look at that in a little more depth in just a second. Next, it's going to give you a high-level compatibility check. So looking at the future version, we'll just look at that for now. There's no errors. There's 2 soft warnings. Status, it's likely compatible with the future Acumatica version that you're going to. Next, it's looking technical validation. So it's giving you a summary. It says 21 of the core tenants passed. There was 1 failure. So it doesn't comply. And later on in the report, it's going to give you an idea and a write-up on where it failed. The next piece of it is where we calculated the total point. So these are the different areas that the screen or that the customization goes to, and that makes up the overall complexity. Total points 15.96, and that's what gives us an extra small. So that's kind of the summary portion of the report. Once we get down a little deeper into the report, this is where you start to see more of the detail. So this is all of the elements in more detail of the report. So these are the files, screens, access rights, sitemap areas. So just a more detailed look at all the areas that the customization touches. Next, there's a compatibility summary for the current version, which in this case, no errors, no warnings. It's perfect. And then there's a compatibility for the next version. In this case, there was no errors, but 2 soft warnings, and it gives you an idea of what those warnings are, what you need to address with your code. Next, it goes through all the technical validation requirements. and it says there's only one in which it's not meeting the standard. And if you scroll down just a bit more, it's going to go into detail. And this is a very simple one. It's simply a control ID that's not in the correct naming convention. So it's very straightforward. In this overall, very straightforward package, very simple, not much to it. This can be taken care of very quickly, but it does a full assessment top to bottom of the customization and pinpoints what you need to look at and what's good to go. So now quickly on the flip side of this, a customization which is much more complex. The first one had, I think, like 15 total points. This one's at 262. And so we'll scroll through pretty quickly, but just to give you an idea, when we look at compatibility, there's 22 hard errors with the next version. There's 13 soft warnings we need to look at. And again, there's significant compatibility risks for the version that we're going to is the end result of this report. Technical validation, 16 of the core tenets are passed, 6 are failed. It's going to give us a write-up on what those 6 are and what's going on there. It gives an idea of all the different areas that this customization is touching here. And then down here, it's giving you in much more detail all the components of the customization, all the files that it's touching, any scripts that are being run, which this is a huge list of scripts. This is a very complex customization, all the different screens that we're touching, and within those screens, the different fields, areas. So we're going to scroll through some of this here pretty quickly. Hope I don't make you dizzy. And then it's going to get into current version summary, so the errors and warnings for the current version. And then beyond that, which is probably what we're most interested in, it's going to get into the next version summary. So this is all the warnings for the current version. And then if we scroll down here, it's going to look at the next version. So it's going to give us any errors, anything we need to look at, anything we need to address in the code. And then finally, if we scroll through this, I'm just going to go down to the technical validation requirements. So down here, it's saying these are the different technical validation areas in which we're in compliance. And then here's where we have issues. And then it's going to go through each one of them later on in this report in more detail and say these are the areas from the technical validation perspective that need to be resolved in order to bring this customization into compliance. So with that, I'm going to wrap up the demo portion of this. I'm going to move my share back over to the main screen. Okay. I believe I'm back to the main screen. You can correct me if I'm wrong. And that is going to wrap up the presentation. So I want to thank you all for being here again, and we will open it up, like I said, for any questions that we may have. Fire away if you have anything.
There were a couple of questions in the chat, Garrett. I tried to respond it, but maybe you would like to answer any of those from your side.
Okay, so we had the question from Martin about cost. So it looks like you've got some time scheduled there. When are the automations going to be available? Yep, so they're currently available now. It's just a matter of where you see the opportunity to leverage them. We use them for every upgrade that we do. They're a key part of everything that we do, and it's how we've built out the upgrade program that we have. But the tools can be available to you as of today. Okay, and is there a cost associated? So follow up to Martin's question. So yes, again, the upgrade program overall, they're all bundled into that. So we offer a standalone upgrade service where we manage from start to finish the upgrades on your behalf for your clients, and we can go into more detail on that on a one-on-one. And then we also offer the tools standalone. So if you have interest in either of those options, you can reach out to, I see Alex has posted his Calendly link there. If you have any questions for me, my email is here. I'm happy to give you any detail that I can. But yes, the tools are available, the upgrade service is available. And also if you have any questions about best practice, if you have any questions about what we're seeing in upgrades that we have on our side, we're open to share, open to learn, and hopefully we can be a part of continuing to improve your upgrade experience, and then continue to learn from you as well. Any other questions that we have? Did I miss anything, Alex?
No.
Okay. All right, perfect. Well, I think that's it. Again, really appreciated each of you stopping by today. We'll send out the recording. One more question
Garrett,
here.
there is one more.
Okay, so regarding the automation to see the errors in a customization, can you click into the error? So the customization assessment tool, it's going to give you a full write-up on what the error is. So it's going to give you full detail. And I know I scrolled through that area pretty fast, but when it's highlighting an error for a customization and, whether it's a validation issue or whether it's a compatibility issue, it's going to give you full detail on what that is. It's not going to, it's not going to hyperlink you to anywhere, I don't believe, but it is going to give you all details to that error within the report. So everything will be there. You won't need to click to anything else.
Yep.
Okay, and then the question, how will it work for SaaS customers? So it's going to, so typically what we do is when a sandbox is spun up, we can run our system integrity testing within the sandbox. Also, for our customization assessment tool, all that it needs to generate a report is the customization package. Best practice, of course, is to provide source code, and if we were to do any work on the customizations, we would need source code. But in order to run the report, to get your report on that customization, we would simply need the customization package.
Yeah.